First person I interviewed was my roommate, and first question I asked him was, why do you not need church to believe in God, and how did you learn about God and living as a follower to God? And his response was, he thinks that church is overdoing, like they try too hard to get people to go to church, and they try too hard to get people to believe what they're preaching. And he also says that he doesn't really go to church much anymore like he used to when he was a kid. Today he does like private Bible studies with his family every once in a while. He's here at school, so he can't do it now. When he's at home, he would normally do that a couple times a week, maybe every other week or something. And I understood that church can be overwhelming at sometimes, and they can almost, seem like a cult, people will say, but it kind of is overwhelming, and they try to overdo it sometimes. And then the second question I asked him was, how do you nurture or deepen your growth in faith? And he said, just talking about my thoughts and feelings in the family groups at home, going through different sermons and explaining the translations, what the sermons mean, and kind of either relating to them, not relating to them, or just sharing thoughts on them. The final question I asked him was, is there anything a church community could do that would make it a place you would attend or you would find helpful in growing relationships with God or deepen your spirituality? And he said really just relating the Bible verses and turning them into real life situations and dramatizing them to make us feel bad or brainwash us into doing whatever the priest is talking about. That's kind of the thing that he didn't like and would make it more comfortable for him to go. And then if he said if there was more group activities to express feelings and thoughts about the sermons or certain things that the priest is talking about. And then the second person, I went out on a limb and just asked a random person that I seen in Kroger the other day. And I asked them the same 3 questions. And I started out with the same first question. I asked him, why do you not need church to believe in God, and how do you learn about God and living as a follower of God? And his response actually shocked me quite a bit. And he said that he didn't believe in God or any religion, and he said that his parents made him go when he was younger, and he just didn't pay attention because he thought it was boring and he didn't understand any of it. And the second question and the second answer, he wasn't really interested in growing his relationships with God, which I kind of seen that coming since he didn't really believe anything. And then following the first 2 questions, I didn't even ask him the third question because I knew what I was going to get. So.
Me?
Yeah.
All right, 1 second here. So I interviewed 2 of my friends, and so the first person that I interviewed, I basically just asked her the same 3 questions. I asked her, why do you not need church to believe in God, and how did you learn about God and living as a follower of God? And she said that she likes to read the Bible by herself, and she feels like she can learn a lot more on her own and grow her relationship closer to God on her own. She also stated that her grandparents were big followers of God, and they attended church a lot. So she grew up going to church as a child, and she also learned a lot from her parents throughout her childhood as well. And then the next question was, where is it? How do you nurture, deepen, and grow in your faith? She said that she prays every morning and every night, and she reads as much of the Bible as she can. And she's always working to build a closer relationship with God every day. And then I went down to ask her the third question, which was, is there anything a church community could do that would make it a better place, or make it a place you would attend and be helpful in growing your relationship with God. And she said that she likes a more traditional style church, so she would attend more services if they were more traditional. She really likes the piano playing and the singing of hymns. And then the second person I asked was my girlfriend. She doesn't really attend church much anymore with being at school and being busy with soccer, so I went ahead and asked her. So the first question, which was why do you not need church to believe in God, and how did you learn about God and living as a follower of God? And she said basically the same thing. She said that she likes to learn a lot on her own and kind of take the initiative to learn on her own from her friends and family. She says that her friends and family play a huge role in learning about God and her spiritual growth. And then the second question, her answer, she grew up in a Catholic church, and then she basically just learned a lot from her family. And her and her family have kind of converted more over to following as a Christian rather than still attending Catholic Mass. And then I asked her the third question, which was, is there anything a church community could do that would make it a place you would attend and find helpful in growing in your relationship with God? And she said that she would like more connection to the youth, would make it more meaningful and make it more impactful in their lives as a generation. She said that a church that is more open and more easily understandable would bring more comfort to her, and it would help bring her to find a church that she can call home.
So I interviewed a girl on my softball team. She does not go to church, never really been to church at all. And when I asked her, why do you not need church to believe in God? And like, how did you learn about God and to live as a follower of him? She was just like, it's so jumbled up. But she doesn't feel like you need church to believe in God because you can learn through like your sports or like other people just living every day around people, like they can help you deepen your faith in God, and you don't need to go to church to have that done. And she deepened her faith in God when her brother had like a friend who passed away, and like sometimes that's how people deepen their faith in God. It's like a traumatic event or something like that'll happen, and they just like need something to help them get through it. And one thing that she thinks the church community needs to like do to make it more open is like not be so pushy. Like she just feels that church is more of like you need to go to church in order to believe in God and stuff like that. And that comes to like one question I asked her, do you feel, are there any misconceptions about being able to have faith in God and not attending church? And her biggest one was that in order to believe in God, you have to go to church. Like a lot of people believe that, and that's just not something that she believes in. And that's literally the only one I interviewed.
Alright, so now we can kind of move on and talk about what we understood to be the reasons for not belonging to a church, which I'll kind of start off with that. I feel like from my interviews, my perspective on it was more of like a lot of people like to learn on their own. They like to kind of take the initiative to go out and seek for kind of not answers, but kind of seek for their own growth, and not kind of be taught it, you know. So I kind of feel like that's kind of the way that's kind of what I got out of my two interviews.
Yeah, like a lot of kids our age nowadays, they feel like church is too hard to understand, so they just like don't go, and they want to learn it on their own because it makes it easier for them to understand.
And I like what I heard in my interviews with like family playing a huge role, and friends too with learning. I think that's great too, because a lot of kids are almost kind of like, a lot of kids our age don't like to go by themselves.
Yeah.
And we're kind of at that age now where like we don't really have like a whole lot of people other than family to go with. So a lot of kids don't really like to go by themselves, so they just kind of learn from their family. So.
Sometimes I feel like you like have to not have to learn on your own, but like it's not really an excuse, but like growing up like playing sports, like it wasn't in our schedule like on a Sunday morning to be able to go to church. Like I was always up traveling, going to something. So like if I wanted to learn about God, I had to do it on my own.
Yeah.
And sometimes the church setting isn't for everybody, and sometimes it's harder for younger people and maybe some teenagers to learn from an actual priest themselves. So they kind of resort to their parents to have them, kind of show them their ways, what they know, what they think is right and wrong, what's to believe in. That's kind of the way I took it with my roommate, with him being in his family settings a couple times a week or every other week.
So now we can kind of talk about, let's kind of jump down to, how we like feel about what they said. So like, do we think that everybody like should follow what we interviewed did, or like if not, like what do you think would make church more easy for people to attend? So like, I don't know, with mine, I kind of like what they said about learning on their own. Do I think everybody should do it? I don't really know, because you don't really know what other people think, like you said.
Like you said, it's like kind of like the way they are.
Yeah.
Like it's either for them or it's not for them.
So like it's kind of everybody's different and have a different way of wanting to learn. So
yeah, and like another thing you mentioned, like not being able to understand it nowadays, and like that's something that my person that I interviewed says, like kind of like need to like, it sounds bad, but like dumb it down in a way, because it's just too much.
And then I like the second person I interviewed, like what would make it kind of better. I think more connection to the youth. I don't really know. I didn't really start knowing until I was like junior in high school. So I started going like youth groups. So I guess like more connection to the youth would make it better. And then if churches were more easily understandable, I mean that would make it easier for younger kids to go, and it would be more comfortable for them too. So that's kind of what I think. So I don't really feel. I like what the two people I interviewed said, and I don't think everybody should do it. But then it's kind of how they want to do it. It's all with them and how they feel, and they need what's helpful for them to grow their relationship with God.
And I think that since church isn't for everybody, it's harder for people to learn. Could that be something that other families start to do as a new tradition in America? Sure. Some people could kind of resort to the more private setting and keeping their religious beliefs in private. I do understand that aspect of it, and I do understand why he would want to, be at home and not in a church setting, because sometimes you can't really learn in a church.
I'm just not really one to criticize someone on their opinion based on church of what they want to do.
So I think when it kind of boils down to it, when you are thinking about like how you feel about what the people said, I think my biggest key takeaway from that is I don't think everybody should follow what the people I interviewed or like you interviewed did. I just think it comes down to everybody's different, so it's just how they're gonna go about it, just how they feel about it. And I think that's kind of like a key key thing to think about. Everybody's different, and everybody's gonna learn differently and want to learn about God and follow God in a different way. So that'll. That's it.